and welcome to this presentation on Career in Insurance, a Good Proposition. My name is Sarah Gifford and I lead on the Careers Information, Advice and Guidance here at Kaplan. Today we are going to hear from the Chartered Institute of Insurance, otherwise known as the CII, and you will learn about the insurance sector and the pathways available for you to be able to achieve career success in the industry. I will talk about kind of information around Kaplan's insurance apprenticeships, and at the end of the session you'll get to hear firsthand what it's like to be an insurance apprentice. By way of introduction, I just want to give a brief overview for those of you who do not know Kaplan. We are an international training provider that focuses on professional services. We offer apprenticeships to around 10,000 apprentices, helping all of those individuals to achieve their learning and career goals. We are known for our expert tuition and we continuously transform our programs to ensure that they are fit for industry and future-proofed for the jobs of the future. With that short introduction, it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Steve Jenkins from CII. Hello, Steve.
Hello there, pleased to meet you.
And, please tell us a little bit about the CII.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to speak to you today, and welcome to this webinar. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to the insurance sector itself, but particularly the role that the Chartered Insurance Institute plays in that sector. We're delighted to be partnering with Kaplan today in support of this apprenticeship webinar. And from our perspective as the professional standards body for the sector, we consider the introduction and the kind of development of apprenticeships in the UK as a fantastic opportunity. And for many of you, this will give a real boost to career opportunities and open up many opportunities for you, and all power to your elbow as far as that is concerned. So, my brief presentation is going to cover four main areas. I'd like to kind of just talk about what a professional body is and why we believe that aside from the sector of insurance, it's really timely in today's job market to be joining a profession. What is a profession and what are the benefits of that in terms of supporting you throughout your career. A little bit about what insurance is and the different classes or types of insurance, many of which you'll be familiar with, but just give you a little bit of an insight into some of that. Talk about some of the roles that are available for people to build their careers in, including some of the specific roles for the sector, and then other roles that support the sector, much in the way that other sectors are supported. And then last and not least, as you build your career and you develop through a profession, what professional qualifications might you focus on to support you in that? And I know many of you in the early days will be looking at the insurance practitioner apprenticeship, which incorporates some of the early professional qualifications that we'll reference. And as you develop further, I'll give you an insight as to what that might look like. So if we look at the first slide and just kind of reflect on the Chartered Insurance. I mean, Chartered Insurance Institute, like many professional bodies, has been around for a long time. We were established under Royal Charter, and our purpose, as you can see from the bottom, is to promote public trust in the insurance and financial planning sector overall. And you can see that if ever there was a good time in history to introduce something called a professional standards body, when you consider the whole concept of building a career in a sector which is of the right culture, has a right purpose, does the right thing, fosters personal development and expertise, now would be that time. But the CII, as many other institutes and other sectors, have been around for a long time. In fact, over 100 years we were established. We operate under Royal Charter, and what that does, it gives us as an organisation the licence to grant individual chartered titles to individual practitioners and to certain firms as well. So the drive and the purpose of the professional standards body is to promote public trust. And in order to promote public trust, it needs to build a profession and sustain a profession. Now, many of you will be familiar with other professions, such as the medical profession, the legal profession, and the accountancy profession, that have been professions for a mature profession to consider that way. The insurance profession is an emerging profession, a young profession. But as I'll explain in a moment, the whole concept of insurance is fundamental to the fabric of society, particularly as society becomes more uncertain and more risks that none of us would have actually anticipated in the past become prevalent. And many people and many companies will need access to experts that they can trust, that can guide them in navigating those risks. And that really is where the concept of insurance actually comes in. So driving public trust is fundamental. Building a profession with you as practitioners and as professionals is fundamental. And I'd like to just reflect on what the some component parts of a profession would typically look like. And it's hopefully in this context that you can see how apprenticeships will play a fundamental part. Firstly, expertise. You would expect, wouldn't you, that when you deal with a profession, you would be dealing with experts that know what they're talking about and can provide advice to other people. But it's no good being an expert, and there's no good providing advice if that's not done in an ethical way. It's not really done. If it's not done with the customer or the consumer in mind, first and foremost, then it's incomplete. So the second critical element of a profession is that every practitioner abides by a code of ethics, which is about doing the right thing, fulfilling the right culture, and acting very much in the interest of the end client. And the third element is that there's no point in doing those two things just at one point in time. One has to keep themselves up to date, and such that one's knowledge and one's ethical approach is relevant at any one point in time, which is why a program of continuing professional development throughout one's career is so important. And if you put those three component parts together, you have a profession. And if you think about the professions that you may be familiar with, like doctors, like nurses, like architects, like accountants, like lawyers, they are all expert, they are all ethical, and they always keep themselves up to date. So it's exactly the same as far as insurance is concerned. And we as the Chartered Insurance Institute, in order to fulfill that, will do that through three ways. We will provide, as you can see on the outside there, leadership, insightful leadership, guiding professionals about what the right thing to do is. We'll provide relevant learning to the jobs that people do. So we will provide professional qualifications and ongoing learning that will help support them in that. But then, as well as working for an individual employer or for oneself in the future, we very much hope that people will become permanent members of their profession, and that we would do that through our membership proposition. So those three elements of leadership, learning, and membership are the way in which the CII drives the build of a profession in order to actually harness public trust. And it's an ongoing process. It's not something that starts and stops. So if we look at the next slide, and it's very much because the concept of insurance, unlike many other things, is very intangible. It's based on a promise to pay when things go wrong. And when things go wrong, people are in times of need, they need insurance to put them back into the financial position that they would be had that event not taken place. So you think about that, and you can then think about how important that therefore it is to access an insurance sector that is expert, access an insurance sector that is ethical, and access an insurance sector that is up to date, which is how the three component parts of being a professional bind together in that. So when you're dealing in a sector that is based on a promise of help in the future when things go wrong, you really do need a professional to support you in all of that. Because fundamentally, the whole concept of insurance is grounded in social purpose. If you think about it, the premiums that people pay, loads of people, fund the claims that a small number of people have to make in the event of something unexpected or unforeseen happening. So the concept of insurance is based in this social purpose, whereby the contribution of the many fund the misfortune of the few, whether that misfortune impacts individual people or whether it impacts companies, for example. But when you get that right, there's peace of mind, there's economic stability, there's innovation, and fundamentally society can actually function effectively. The challenge is you can't see insurance, you can't feel insurance because it's intangible. But that's why you need to be able to rely on it as an individual and to be given peace of mind that insurance will be there when you need it. So hopefully I've given you some feel for a profession, why a profession is important, and why of all professions, the whole concept of insurance really needs a profession to actually make it work. And if you think these days now, particularly over the last 12 months, risks are now emerging in society that no one would have ever thought of in the past. The world is becoming a very, very uncertain place, both for individuals, for families, for corporations, for small businesses. You never know what's around the corner. So if insurance is there as a promise to help when things go wrong, it's effectively supporting society, which is why it's such an important and really, really key sector and a very interesting sector where people can build their career. So what types of insurance exist? Well, I'm familiar. If you look at this slide, I won't go through the whole list because there's a whole range of insurances that exist for when for things like theft and for fire and so on and so forth in the event of the unexpected. But whilst people may be familiar with the whole concept of car insurance, which is mandatory, of course, or maybe people's parents or friends or family have got home insurance. Insurance manifests itself on the left-hand side along something called personal lines. These are typical types of insurance that individuals might need to affect depending on their own circumstances. Life and that would extend further as one gets older in terms of life insurance and other more complex types of insurance. But those insurances on the left-hand side are insurances that would be appropriate for individuals. Perhaps what's less familiar to people is a whole range of insurance that businesses need to affect. Some of those businesses are mandatory, and some of those some of those insurances are mandatory, and some of them are desirable or recommended, but they can be insurances that small businesses might need to look at, or major corporations. You think about major events like sporting tournaments, for example. There's a whole range of insurances that underpin that, from the health insurance and injury insurance for individual athletes or footballers, for example, to travel insurance for contract insurance and event insurance in case there's an unexpected interaction on the event. There's all sorts of types of insurance that actually are what's called run in the commercial lines area. So insurance can be, an insurance product can be designed for anything that is not to be expected. And what it effectively does, it gathers premiums from lots of people, it's investing those premiums and then pays out to the very small number of people that will actually need that insurance in the event of something unexpected happening. But to basically be able to access those products confidently, individuals need access to experts who again are in a position to provide advice, in a position to operate ethically, in a position to be relevant and up to date in what they actually do. So those roles, as we look at the next slide, can be quite extensive. Now you get in insurance, because insurance is a major sector, it produces something, a very significant proportion of economic activity in the UK, employs a lot of people, and is actually a very important income generator for the UK, and has, as a result, many roles like HR and finance and customer service, like every other sector. But there are certain roles that sit within the insurance sector that are specific to the insurance sector. I'll just pick out two or three from this particular list. The underwriter is the individual that assesses the risk in the first place. They are the people that basically set the price and decide whether or not to accept a particular risk in an individual circumstance. The broker, on the other hand, is working for the individual client. Broker basically will look around the market and on behalf of an individual client, whether it be an individual or a company, will seek to get the best deal. And then the claims handler at the bottom is probably the most important of the whole lot. because it's the claims handler that actually decides whether a claim is actually valid, and actually supports the payout and the payout of the insurance claim at the moment of truth. And the moment of truth, of course, is when the claim is made, which is the fulfillment of the promise that underpins the social purpose of insurance that I described in the first place. Now, there are many other roles, as you can see there, and I'm sure that our partners at Kaplan are in a position to help you with all of that. But what the benefit of the insurance practitioner apprenticeship does is it gives you a basic grounding, not just technically with the Chartered Insurance Institute qualifications, but much broader support and training to be able to do your job, which is where Kaplan support the apprenticeship program. So some great roles for some very interesting classes of insurance, some of which will be familiar, some of which will be less familiar for you. So let's just finish on just a kind of a picture of the professional qualifications. The insurance practitioner apprenticeship there slots in at level 3, because incorporated within that is something called a certificate insurance, Cert CII, which is the letters you can put after your name. That comes in at level 3 there, which is equivalent to school leaver qualification. It's a basic grounding of a professional qualification and gives people a kind of orientation into the insurance sector. Now, many people then decide that they want to actually mark themselves out from the crowd, if you like, and provide a real differentiator. They then progress in due course as they go through their career to take the diploma in insurance, which is more complicated or more applied in its application. That's the equivalent to the first year of a university degree, which is called level 4. And many actually then go on to achieve something called the advanced diploma in insurance, such that they can use the designation ACII, Associate Chartered Insurance Institute, after their name. Level 6 there is equivalent to an honours degree from a university in terms of academic level. And then at the top there, you can have FCII, which is Fellow of the Chartered Insurance Institute, which is equivalent to a master's degree. Now, the one focus to get cracking is the Cert CII. That's the foundation through which everybody goes, the gateway through which everybody goes. And I'd commend you to give real focus for that through the apprenticeship program, and also access as much support from Kaplan as you possibly can. So I hope what I've been able to do throughout my brief kind of presentation is to give you a bit of a feel for what we as the professional body can do to support you in terms of your learning and your membership, that we will be with you as you build your career throughout the insurance sector, throughout your whole career, irrespective who you're working for at any particular point in time. And we're delighted to be able to partner Kaplan in that regard. Don't forget that insurance is grounded in social purpose. Remember, it's the contribution of the many funding the misfortune of the few. And in an uncertain world, it really, really is important that a profession exists to support all of that. And that's the role that the CII have got. And we look forward to working with you in the future. So thank you very much for listening. I'm going to pass back now to Sarah, who's going to take us forward with Tasmin.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's really been very interesting. So you've heard today about the industry and obviously those pathways within it, and that, as Steve said, it's all rooted in that kind of social purpose. So how can apprenticeships help you? Well, let me start by saying that actually apprenticeships have changed and that they may not be what you think they are. You can now gain valuable knowledge, skills and behaviours at the same time as gaining that industry experience through work, and that gaining that all-important qualification that Steve spoke about. So let's take a look at, who apprenticeships are for. There's now very few limiting factors for being eligible for an apprenticeship. There are no age limitations. You may be a school leaver, or you could be a recent graduate. You could even be an existing employee. And there are various schemes and employers across the sector who are ready and willing to help you find your first role and apprenticeship. The only limiting factor is that you must not have already studied what is in your apprenticeship, and you must be in the correct role to be able to demonstrate all of the learning outcomes listed in the apprenticeship standard. most importantly, we talked about social, a social purpose, and apprenticeships are about social mobility. It's about giving everyone equal opportunities to achieve. And in the sector, there are more social groups, mobility membership groups than ever before, welcoming individuals from every walk of life. Employers are now taking notice of this, and they're doing more and more to attract diversity into the sector and introducing practices like blind recruitment to encourage more diversity. So let's take a look now at the benefits of doing an apprenticeship. You will ultimately achieve your career goals and earn a salary while you train. You will be given time during work hours to complete your apprenticeship and gain that all-important professional qualification alongside those skills and behaviours that will make you stand out from the crowd. At the end of your apprenticeship, you will complete what's known as an endpoint assessment, and that is with an independent assessor. That's giving you the opportunity to evidence how you have applied what you have learned into your role. So what type of skills might you learn on an apprenticeship? Well, here I've taken the example of the insurance practitioner. That's at that level 3 that you saw Steve mentioning, that foundation level. These are all the knowledge, skills and behaviours that are listed in that apprenticeship standard, and these help to form the basis of what you will learn on your programme at this level. As expected, you will learn about the insurance market and those policies and procedures that underpin the activities that you will be conducting in your role. But you'll also learn skills like how to work effectively and how to show professionalism at all times. Ultimately, insurance roles require individuals who are curious, individuals who are focused on customer service and problem solving. In this next slide, we look at a short example of what the practicalities of your apprenticeship learning journey might look like. On programme, you typically spend about 15 months working through all of these skills and being given the tools you need to develop them. You will complete that professional qualification, that certificate in insurance, and you will also be given access to tutor support as well as a Kaplan talent coach who will help you progress through your apprenticeship. You'll be given all sorts of learning resources, including access to e-learning as well as interactive development sessions where you'll be working with peers on developing those skills and then applying them into your role. Gateway is at the point in which you agree with your employer and your training provider that you have learned all you can on programme and you just begin to prepare for your endpoint assessment. The endpoint assessment for this particular programme, the Insurance Practitioner Level 3, is with providing a portfolio of evidence and then showing that to an endpoint assessment organisation through a reflective discussion. And of course, once you've completed your programme, not only have you gained that all-important qualification with the CII, but you also will get your apprenticeship certificate. So overall, the programme lasts approximately 18 months in total. But I can't say this any better than someone who is living and breathing it themselves. So I'm really pleased today to be joined by Tasmeen. Tasmeen is an insurance apprentice herself with Zurich, and she's also one of the Kaplan's Apprenticeship Advisory Panel members. Tasmeen, very welcome to you.
Hi, it's nice to be here. So I'm Tasmeen and I'm an apprentice at Zurich, working in the specialty team, which is basically claims handling for marine cargo and fine art and specie claims.
Fantastic. Tasmeen, what first attracted you to the industry?
For me, I think I joined a mentoring scheme in 2018 where so it was run by Lloyd's and a charity called The Brokerage. So I was paired with a mentor in the insurance industry, and we were set weekly challenges, which helped me to get a taste of the insurance industry the type of roles and work involved, as Steve has mentioned. As I really enjoyed my time on this scheme, it inspired me to look for entry-level roles in insurance, and I was quite lucky to have gotten into this fantastic apprenticeship scheme at Zurich.
Fantastic. And Tasmin, what were your expectations and your first realizations on your first year about your apprenticeship?
So before starting the role, I didn't know much about the role itself. I hadn't really heard of marine cargo or fine art and specie. I worked at a tech startup where people generally had quite a negative outlook of the corporate world. I was expecting to notice maybe a hierarchy and to do more kind of admin tasks, but I was very pleasantly surprised when I started. And I was able to get involved in lots of interesting projects almost straight away. I was able to attend lots of insurance events, many of those actually being CII events, and even Kaplan development days. So I've had a few opportunities within my role to present to the claims leadership team, which has been great opportunities because the claims leadership team are always open and receptive to new ideas at Zurich. And I've been able to develop quite quickly within my role to take on more responsibilities in the team.
Fantastic. That sounds like a great opportunity for you. And I guess what everyone here will be wanting to know is how has the apprenticeship benefited you within the industry?
So I think the apprenticeship has benefited me by helping me to develop a lot of useful transferable skills like presentation, communication, and negotiation skills, and as well all the kind of skills that Sarah had showed in the Insurance Practitioner Award, which is something that I'm working to complete. It has also helped me to increase my technical knowledge of insurance and claims specifically, and it has broadened my network. Being part of the apprenticeship scheme, I have received lots of support from both my employer and Kaplan. Most importantly for me, though, I think the apprenticeship has benefited me by allowing me to discover the type of work that I enjoy doing and the skills that I want to develop in future.
Fantastic. Tasmin, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sure that people watching will be really fascinated to hear what you said at the beginning there, that actually you started getting really into the nitty-gritty of the programs. It wasn't just doing kind of admin, and you actually got to do some real life work straight away, which is great.
Yeah, I think there's definitely misconceptions about apprenticeships, and hopefully we are helping to kind of break some of those myths.
Absolutely, we're dispelling the myths today. Well, this finally just leaves me to say thank you so much to our speakers for joining today. We hope that all of you have found this session useful. If you have any questions about what you've heard on this recording, or you would like some more information, please do get in touch with Kaplan via our website there. Thank you very much for joining, and goodbye.